I've always wondered, if I pay 200 rupees to PVR for a ticket, how much goes back to the person who made the movie and how much does PVR keep?
50%. Roughly 50.
Is that negotiable? Like if it's a Shah Rukh Khan movie, would you keep 40? And if it's...
So it's a sliding scale. First week is 50. And then if the movie reaches a certain threshold of box office, then you get a 2.5% bonus to the producer. And if it doesn't, then there's a 2.5% discount. Because there are so many movies.
And when you say 2.5%?
It becomes 47.5%. So right. in the producer's favor, our favor, we get 52.5, producer will get 47.5. And the other way around, if the movie reaches a certain threshold, occupancy and numbers, then next week it goes to 37.5 and then it goes to about 30%.
Do you also have a revenue stream where people offer you money for more screens than they would have gotten democratic?
No. That used to happen earlier, what they used to call minimum guarantee or theatre hire. That doesn't happen anymore. Now you just release the movie, whatever the box office collections are, you split it on a weekly basis. That's it.
So what would you say, Ajay, is the total revenue? Like he said, 2 billion OTT, 8 to 9 billion television.
Yeah.
In these 9,000 screens, 3,500 multiplex and the balance 6,000 single theatre. All the tickets sold, all the food sold in that ratio, 60, 25, 10 in advertising, in between movies or whatever. Combination of all those elements, what would be the revenue?
Box office is what is reported mainly. Yeah. That's about 10,000 crores.
10,000.
But around then you 10, can extrapolate and add 40% for the other stuff.
Yeah, that's right. But advertising and your F&B revenue, if you add all that and say what is a theatrical business, because
14,000?
theatrical, but
it's about a couple of billion.
Very similar at scale, OTT and multiplexes and theatres together.
Yeah. But just one more number I want to throw out there is the global box office. And to tell you how small India is, 42 billion.
42 billion?
Billion. So pre-pandemic, the global box office was 42 billion.
You're saying the total of movies across the world?
Half of it went to the producers, half went to the exhibition. And when I said exhibition means 200,000 screens globally. So the 200,000 screens globally got 21 billion. And the producer fraternity, which is all studios and then fragmented, and got 21 billion. So that's how big it was. And then it, of course, dramatically came down in 2021, 22, 22, 23. And now it's slowly inching up.
And if you were to compare, because we have like very similar numbers now.
Yeah.
If you were to go back 5 years, compare theatre income, I'm adding multiplex and theatre, versus OTT. 5 years ago, what would this number be? What is growing faster? I'm guessing OTT. Right?
OTT, yeah.
But 5 years ago, that must have been much bigger than OTT.
This would have been insignificant.
But is that decreasing? Is OTT growing on the back of theatres?
I think TV shows are something that were pre-pandemic, that's what people were watching. And for cinemas, for movies, they were coming to the... So I think they were both complementing each other.
Right.
It wasn't... And the same consumer was happy to let the story unfold over 13 episodes and yet want to see season 2. And he also was going out for a quick fix and watching a movie for 2.5 hours are coming. I think the lines got blurred in the pandemic, where because producers could not release the movies on the big screen, therefore, and cinemas were shut anyway, and they want to monetize their content. A lot of content got sold. And now, basically, there is some amount which is purely OTT revenue, and which is the TV shows, all fabulous TV shows. And some is going through that monetization journey of content anyway, which is first it goes to theatrical, the quantitative and the qualitative benchmark gets set, then goes to OTT, then goes to satellite. Yeah. So that part, I don't know the exact number.
I read this very interesting, the paper spoke about the theatrical window.
Yeah.
So let's say 10 years ago or 5 years ago, the difference in time from when a movie released in a theater to when it came out on OTT, or you can extrapolate and say VCD, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever.
Correct.
Used to be a couple of years, came down to 1 year, came down to 6 months, came down to 1 month. There have been experiments where they both released on the same day. Yeah. The movie actually did well, but the theatre community had such an issue with it that they were not allowed to release on the same day.
Correct.
Do you think the fact that a movie is releasing in a theater first helps OTT?
I think both. Well, this
Because
is
it's
what has been.
marketing for the movie, right?
This is what absolutely. So this happened during the pandemic. Obviously, the windows collapsed completely. As I said, for the same reason, because studios had content ready, and they wanted to release it. And obviously, lots of studios came out with their own streaming services. You know, Warner had HBO. Hotstar, when Bob Iger, towards the end of his book,
They
they launched Disney Plus, and plus they were also not very happy to give all their libraries to Netflix, and they want to create their own streaming platform. But then they realized that that the awareness of the movie and this $42 billion that I'm talking about, and the 21 that was coming to them, can never get recouped if they go straight to streaming. So if $100 million movie gets made and you want to monetize it, it's best to first release it in the first window, which is theatrical. And that wasn't the same 12 weeks or whatever, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. They shortened it down to 8 weeks. So they said even 8 weeks are enough because of the term that I used earlier called carpet bombing. If you have a big movie, you don't need to release it after 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, because when you carpet bomb it, it releases at 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 screens. And if the movie clicks with the consumers, you'll get your revenue back anyway. So therefore, after lots of trials and tribulations, you decided to get the window back.
Right.
And it's more for economic rationale.
Right.
Because so that, you make Superman, you make Spider-Man, you make like these avatars of the world. How the hell are you going to get that money back if you don't get that $2 billion revenues? To be honest with you, Avatar would have done $2 billion. But Russia was at war. So Russia contributed a lot. China had this, zero COVID policy, so theaters were shut. And yet it ended up doing about $1.2 billion. So the Avatar was the eye-opener, which once again made everybody come across, sit across a table like this and say, you know what, let's get the windows back.